was quite a Beatle fan.
All right, let's talk about the Beatles. Beatlemania. They released their first single in 1963, end of 1963. Beginning of 1964, their single I Want to Hold Your Hand is released, end of January 1964. By February 1st, it's number one on the charts. By February 7th, just a week later, the Beatles arrive. They fly into the US. This is where you get those kind of iconic images of the literal invasion. And they fly in. 2 days later, they're on the Ed Sullivan Show. The US was never the same. So even in Iowa, in Des Moines, Iowa, you had people, who recall watching the Ed Sullivan Show and seeing the Beatles and, remembering that moment. They might never have seen the Beatles in real life.
But I was quite a Beatles fan. Saw them on Ed Sullivan the first time they ever played there, and had little notebooks of, I think I would have been called a Beatlemaniac.
The term Beatlemania was coined by a British paper in 1964, so really right away. This wasn't something that was added after the fact, and it was in response to the kind of crazy reaction that the Beatles were receiving in the U.S. in particular by 1964.
I had a Beatle wig. I had I would buy Beatle magazines. I had Beatle what are those called? Those cards called that
trading cards.
Trading cards. I think I may still have that too. I may have a scrapbook I made of things I cut out of magazines about the Beatles, and so my favorite was John, but my best friend Becky, her favorite was Paul. So we did talk about that endlessly and which one was better. We knew all the words to all the songs of their first records. They just had a different sound, and where it was quite exciting. My mom liked them, and my dad didn't like them at all. Isn't the association? I'd have to think about that. First really big band I saw was the Animals, and that was at the big arena downtown in Des Moines, and went with a friend, and that was they were a British band, and it was amazing to be able to see that in Des Moines. I never was able to see the Beatles. I was quite a Beatle fan. Didn't see them in person. I've seen Paul in person, but that was way after the Beatles. However, I do recall that a girl in my class got to go to Chicago to see them, and a friend of mine in Kansas City got to see them in Chicago, which was about the only Midwestern show they had on their first tour.
Great, but it didn't really matter. Beatlemania was about more than that. It was about this fascination with everything British, with the way they looked, with their clothing, with their hair, the way they talked. It truly impacted everyone. We kind of can compare it. Maybe people today can talk about the sensation around One Direction. Was it the same? No, because the times have changed. But that time, it was a very big deal. One of the more kind of memorable media quotes that gets retold comes from a Life magazine, who in early 1964 they put it like this. They said, in 1776, England lost her American colonies. Last week, the Beatles took them back.